Hi, and thank you so much for returning to the Dare to Share channel. This is Sonia, and we are continuing along in the works of Dr. Miles Munroe, Overcoming Crisis, Secrets to Thriving in Challenging Times. Stay tuned. Chapter 5, Overcoming Seasons of Crisis. Crisis and deadlocks, when they occur, have at least this advantage, that they force us to think. Jawaharlal Nehru. Everything is seasonal. No matter where you live, the seasons come and go. Summer, autumn, winter, and spring. In different regions of the world, those seasons look quite different, but each season always has some positive aspects and some negative aspects. The view from your window may be green or brown or white. The temperature may be hot or cold. The weather may be cloudy and rainy or clear and dry. To a large extent, those are seasonal differences. People are always looking forward with expectation to the next season or the next one after that, and they're glad when they get there. Farmers, fishermen, and other people who work outdoors probably have the best appreciation for the reality of seasonal change, but all of us are completely familiar with seasonal patterns. Human life seems to be seasonal as well. Looking at the broad scope, we observe that birth and infancy are like the seed time and new growth of spring. We talk about youth and young adulthood as being like a long, fruitful summer season. Middle age is compared to autumn, when everything is ripe for harvest and summer's growth begins to slow down. Old age is very much like winter, but even in winter there is beauty and hard-won wisdom and the very real hope of new life. In the ups and downs of our individual lives, we see that each of our years has seasons too. Seasons of busy activity give way to seasons of rest. Seasons of serenity alternate with seasons of trouble. Seasons of calm are shattered by seasons of crisis. Sometimes we move from one season to another fairly quickly, but other times it seems to happen with agonizing slowness. Within each life, there is an ebb and flow that is as certain as the tide, whether the person's life has very little trouble in it, or whether the person seems to barely survive one calamity after another. Our lives move in and out, and just as nobody on the face of the earth is immune from crisis, so also nobody suffers in high crisis mode forever, always turning. Some people do not like change, but even those people realize that seasonal change has many benefits. They understand that the earth needs a rest between growing seasons. It needs to gather nutrients and become ready for the coming growing season. They understand that times of plenty, while they may be followed by times of lack, will be followed again in due time by more seasons of plenty. They appreciate the different kinds of beauty that accompany each of the seasons. God is the one who established the seasons of the year. He is the one who created climate differences. He made the tropics and he made Antarctica. He made the oceans and he made the mountains. He is the founding father of seasonal change. In the book of Ecclesiastes, we read this familiar statement: you can replace the word time with the word season throughout. There is a time for everything and a season for every activity under heaven. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to uproot. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to tear down and a time to build. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. A time to scatter stones and a time to gather them. A time to embrace and a time to refrain. a time to search and a time to give up, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to mend, a time to be silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. Ecclesiastes 3:1-8. Did you notice how many of those times are times of crisis? Dying, uprooting, killing, tearing down, scattering stones, weeping, mourning, searching, throwing away, tearing, hating, warring. Yet every time of crisis is balanced out by a time of joy, birthing, planting, healing, building, laughing, dancing, gathering, embracing, finding, keeping, mending, reconciliation, love, joy, peace. Yes, everything is seasonal. Everything changes. Before long, even if you're now in a difficult season, a new season will appear. Nothing is permanent except God. Another way of putting it is this: nothing is permanent. Although the seasonal cycles can become predictable, they do keep changing. I should modify that statement to say that nothing is permanent except God and His promises. The leaves may fall from the trees and the weather may change, but God never changes. He's the same yesterday, today, and forever. See Hebrews 13:8. God, the unchanging one, is the one who set up the ever-changing seasons of the earth and of our lives. And He knew what He was doing. For one thing, He wanted His people to understand that they do not need to worry about their lives. Whatever is happening is not permanent. God is in charge of all the changes. Therefore, it does not matter what is happening because it cannot last. There will be an end to every crisis. It does not matter if what is happening seems good to you or if it seems bad, because it will change eventually, and your God orchestrates the changing. Seasons are His way of guaranteeing improvement. This means that seasonal change is one of His most consistent ways of bringing hope. This means that you do not throw your hope away, even in the darkest season of your life. After all, no matter how cold you get in the winter, you always know summer is coming. Likewise, when winter comes, you do not throw away your swim trunks. You know the summer will come around again. You know you will need those swim trunks, but when you jump in the water to go swimming, you will not need the long-sleeved pullover you may have been wearing in the middle of winter. In the same way, when a wintry economic season comes upon you, do not throw away your bank account, even if it seems useless. Leave some money in it to keep it open. Why? Because the season is coming when you will be able to add more money to it again. Everything is seasonal, times of plenty and times of poverty. Winter never stays. Summer never stays either. Both employment and unemployment are seasonal. If you are unemployed, then a time of employment lies ahead. If this is the season for you to leave your job, then a better job is up ahead. You have got to close out one chapter in order to open up the next one. Most of the time, you have to get ready for a chapter that is bigger and better than the one before. To everything there is a season. Times of crisis are temporary. This is good. The key to life is outlasting the season. If you are in a season of crisis, waiting for the season to change can be challenging. You need more than patient endurance. You need true hope. If you know that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and if you can keep God at your side helping you, you can outlast the darkest season. If you can stay warm and hold out through the long, cold winter, you will make it to summer. It is a sure thing. As long as you can keep holding out your hands to the fire of God's kingdom presence, even if your body remains chilled and shivering, you can endure until the shivering stops and the sun shines again. Your life is a walk of faith, and as I reminded you in chapter 1 in the words of the Apostle John, everyone born of God overcomes the world. This is the victory that has overcome the world, even our faith, 1 John 5:4. Your faith is what keeps you going through the low times. Your faith informs your decisions and fuels your determination. When John says that your faith overcomes the world, he's using the word cosmos in Greek. That means the governing systems, the systems of influence, the patterns of personal power and dominance. In other words, you can overcome the cosmos, the economies and cultures of the world. You may have to suffer trials for a season, but in the long run, you can overcome the system that is so broken. Yes, the system is broken. Banks are collapsing. Insurance companies are folding up. Oil prices are fluctuating. Businesses are downsizing. The economy is going belly up. But you can watch it all go by, confident that God will show you the next step. You can outlast this discouraging season too, just as you outlasted the previous ones. We tend to panic too quickly. We throw up our hands in despair rather than reaching up our hands to God. We need to stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. Exodus 14:13. We need to outlast the threats and dangers of the season of crisis. The Lord himself will bring us into the next season, a season of safety. You cannot see the salvation of the Lord unless you stand steady. Do not run the other way because he has you in the right position. Right here is where you will see and receive your salvation from this predicament. Just as the people of Israel saw the Red Sea open up, delivering them from the spears and chariots of the advancing Egyptian army. Seasons give the incentive to plan for the future. During a season of crisis, we would do well to exercise our faith by planning for the future season that we believe is coming. When God saves us, not from the storm, but rather through the storm, we gain the incentive to go forward into the future. Knowing that this season will not last, we can prepare for the one that is coming. You know, the best time to buy holiday supplies is a year in advance, when they are on sale right after the holiday is over. By the same token, the best time to shop for winter clothes can be in the hot summer when nobody else wants them. So in your season of drought, clean out your cisterns in advance, preparation for a well-watered season. In your season of prosperity, save up for your next season of shortage. The seasons are always moving. Put your hope in God. You know why they call him the Rock of Ages? Because the ages keep passing him by. The age of brokenness passes him by. The age of plenty passes too. The age of submission passes by. The age of confusion passes. Whatever kind of crisis, that age or season passes by too, and the rock is steady. With him and in his circle of protection, you and I are durable. Plant your feet on the rock and look toward the bright horizon of your future. Never respond permanently to a temporary problem. Do not throw your hands up and say, "That's it. It's over. I'm not going to make it." If you do that, you are trying to make a permanent condition out of a temporary experience. What causes you to think that this current season of crisis will never end? It will end. It is temporary. Do not give up the ship just because a storm hits. Do not throw away your winter clothes just because summer has arrived. Those are permanent solutions to temporary problems. The season will change into the next one without fail. Your weeping will turn into laughing. Do not base your opinions on your current circumstances. Some people assume that because they are broke, they have done something wrong, and God is unhappy with them. That is not true. It's just a season, a broke season. God has allowed this season to test your faith. Your faith will take you into the next season, and it will remove you from your present season. You have not put your faith in your money anyway, have you? You have put your faith in the God who is much more permanent than money. This season too shall pass. Here is God's promise to Noah and to all of us who have followed after him. As long as the earth endures, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night, will never cease. Genesis 8:22. I rest my case. Kingdom people are seasonal people. They do not worry when the sky grows dark. They know it will be all right in the long run. They know where to put their trust. They get a lot of practice putting it in the one who invented the seasons. The kingdom economy, a seasonal perspective. What I am trying to say is that the economy of the kingdom is seasonal. Seasons of crisis occur, and so do seasons without crisis. You need to move with them, maintaining a growing faith in the King. He is a rock, like a great boulder with waves breaking over it. He is immovable. He is our Father. He takes care of us. In the kingdom economy, the citizens of the kingdom do not worry. Jesus knew that people have a tendency to worry. That is why he spent extra time talking about why worry is an unnecessary element in the economy of the kingdom of heaven. Therefore, I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat or drink, or about your body, what you will wear. Is not life more important than food and the body more important than clothes? Look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap or store away in barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not much more valuable than they? Who of you by worrying can add a single hour to his life? And why do you worry about clothes? See how the lilies of the field grow? They do not labor or spin, yet I tell you that not even Solomon in all his splendor was dressed like one of these. If that is how God clothes the grass of the field, which is here today and tomorrow is thrown into the fire, will he not much more clothe you, O you of little faith? So do not worry, saying, what shall we eat, or what shall we drink, or what shall we wear? For the pagans run after all these things, and your heavenly Father knows that you need them. But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. Matthew 6:25 through 34. You don't want to be like the pagans, do you? This verse in Matthew 6 reads, for the pagans run after all these things, worrying about the details of their lives, and your heavenly Father knows that you need them. The pagans get anxious and fearful and depressed. They panic. They can't sleep at night. They do not have anybody they can trust. Even if a crisis is new to you, it is not new to him. He knows the end from the beginning. You do. You trust in God himself. Therefore, it does not matter when the storms blow in. You know two important facts. God is in charge, and he will take care of you. He always has, and He always will. Even if a crisis is a new one to you, it is not a new one to Him. He knows the end from the beginning. He will take this time of sorrow and turn it into a time of rejoicing. That's how His economy works. Faith and work. In the kingdom economy, faith and work go hand in hand. Your faith as a citizen of the kingdom is active. You have replaced the unfaith you had when you were a pagan, which was really worry, with action-filled faith. Some people mistakenly think that faith is passive. They think that the less they do, the better. That is not what the Apostle James thought. He encouraged people to support their faith in God with hard work. He wanted faith and work to be combined. What good is it, my brothers, if a man claims to have faith but has no deeds? Can such faith save him? Suppose a brother or a sister is without clothes and daily food. If one of you says to him, "Go, I wish you well, keep warm and well fed," but does nothing about his physical needs, what good is it? In the same way, faith by itself, if it is not accompanied by action, is dead. James 2:14-17. James had a very low opinion of people who merely believe in God. As he put it, even the demons believe that. James 2:19. He expected people's faith, which is invisible, to result in visible actions, in things that show. As the body without the spirit is dead, so faith without deeds is dead. James 2:26. You cannot overcome a crisis by faith alone. If you believe that God will bring you through this season of crisis, then get to work while you are waiting. He has things for you to do. Work and unity. In the kingdom economy, people find unity in a time of crisis. This goes along with work because people find unity when they work together. You cannot help your neighbor without developing a degree of unity and a sense of community. In a time of crisis, there is always something to do. You do not have time to pick and choose what you want to do or what person you want to do it with. Let's say you and I live in the same apartment building. I live upstairs and you live downstairs, but we don't speak to each other. In fact, we don't like each other very much. We merely tolerate each other. We have a bad attitude toward each other. All of a sudden, one night, there's a fire. The apartment building catches on fire and it is burning down. So I grab a bucket and you grab a bucket. We start working together. You get the water, I'll hold the bucket. Our mutual crisis forces enemies to become friends. When the boat is sinking, everybody starts bailing. When the financial system is sinking, we help each other out. A crisis creates a sense of community because when people are in trouble together, they have to get along. That is one of the good things about a bad situation. Unity and empathy. In a crisis, the kingdom economy produces empathy. Sometimes you've been doing so well for so long that you do not know how to feel other people's hurt anymore. You become heartless toward other people. God is doing you a favor when He allows you to lose some ground so that you can be reminded of how temporary your wealth is. When you are in a position to need help from other people for a change, you begin to appreciate them again. Your personal crisis brings you back to your humanity. You empathize, you love, you are willing to help people out. You enjoy the sense of solidarity that you had lost for a while. You may even start liking people again. When a crisis comes, you have to deal with the simple basics of life. Maybe you used to spend all of your time seeking for the finer things of life. The basics, food, shelter, etc., just came to you automatically. You had no patience for the people who could not seem to provide for their families. In any crisis, but especially in a financial crisis, you end up reprioritizing your day-to-day life. You don't go shopping for a new iPod. You need to spend your money on food. You're not so busy anymore, so you have time to go to church. The crisis brings you back to spirituality. It brings you back to people. It brings you back to the things that count. You have time to talk with your neighbor. How are you doing? That is not just a customary greeting. You mean it. Now you care how your neighbor is doing. He's looking out for you and you are looking out for him. New perspectives. The way the seasons of crisis reprioritize your life is simple. A crisis makes you understand what is important again. Prosperity is dangerous in the sense that it can make you forget the source of it. God is the source of it, and sometimes God will back off so you can come back to Him. He will pull His hands back so you will come back looking for His hands again. He will allow you to experience the night so you can appreciate the daytime again. Seasons of success cannot continue forever. If God let us live in success all of the time, we would forget about the main concerns of His kingdom. He is not as interested in how much money you have in the bank as in what you are doing with it. He does not care about the title in front of your name as much as He cares about your heart. So He allows seasons of success to alternate with seasons of failure. Doors that were open get closed. Things that were healthy get sick. It shakes you up, but that shaking will show you what is important. It may redirect you if you need to be redirected. A crisis places demands on your hidden potential. A crisis reveals your true beliefs and your convictions. It will show you what is shakeable and what is not. The things that are situated on the rock will not shake. They will only grow stronger and better. You may call it a terrible experience, but God says that it is just a little blip on His screen. To Him, it is just an incident. You know, don't you, that a crisis on earth is merely an incident in heaven? It is a matter of perspective. What you see as a crisis, God sees as an opportunity for growth. What you see as humiliating, He sees as an occasion for the development of humble leadership. It is all in how you see it. What is your perspective? Your perspective will keep you from staying stuck in a hole. The country of the Bahamas is made up of islands. For a long time, one of those islands was called Hog Island. Somebody named it that, and it was on the map that way. Then a guy came along and said, "I don't like that name. It's not a good name." And he renamed the island Paradise Island. Now you see Paradise Island on the map. When it was Hog Island, it was farmland. Now it has some of the most expensive real estate in the country. When I was growing up in a poor family, I read this proverb and it made me angry. Rich and poor have this in common: the Lord is the maker of them all. Proverbs 22:2. To me, that meant that God made rich people and God made poor people. And the problem was, I was one of the poor ones, and that was the end of the matter. I was angry at God because He had not made me one of the rich ones. I kept on reading. The next verse talks about perspective. A prudent man sees danger and takes refuge, but the simple keep going and suffer for it. Proverbs 22:3. In other words, depending upon how a person sees, so he interprets his situation. Feeling poor is a product of how you see life. So is feeling rich. And the next verse wraps it up. Humility and the fear of the Lord bring wealth and honor and life. Proverbs 22:4. Crisis and opportunity. Not only is it important to interpret your current situation accurately on kingdom terms, but it is equally important to be able to see opportunities and to seize them. I remember a true story of two young men who were attending the University of Southern California together. They decided to take a trip together during their summer break, so they saved up their money to go to India, and they spent the whole summer there with their backpacks on, taking trains and seeing the cities and countryside. They saw millions of poor people. They had never seen such poverty. They saw millions of poor people. They had never seen such poverty before. They had never seen such filth. They were overwhelmed. One day they were in a hotel and one of the guys looked out of a second-story window. As far as his eyes could see, he saw poverty-stricken Indian people. They were barefoot, living in the mud. The men had no shirts on and the children were naked. Flies were swarming and crawling all over them. He said to his friend, "Gosh, man, look at all the poor people. They don't have any shoes on and they don't even have clothes." His buddy came to the window. He said, "Yeah, man, wow. What a place for a shoe business." That's all he said. The two guys went back home and returned to college. They were both in the same classes. They were both studying business administration. As the second guy sat in class, he could not get the pictures of India out of his mind. He saw all those bare feet, so he started sketching on a piece of paper in the back of the class. He ended up designing a pair of shoes that could be made out of plastic and mass-produced. He decided to drop out of school against people's advice because he had become obsessed with this idea about shoes for India. His friend said to him, "You are crazy. You've got to stay in school and get a job so you can make a living." But the guy had this idea, and he was going to see what he could do with it. So he got somebody to make a prototype, and he found a company that said they could produce it for 15 cents a pair. He went to his brother's friend for startup financing. His brother's friend said, "Do you have a market for these shoes?" "Yes, I have a market. Millions of barefoot Indians. I've got a big market in India. If we make this shoe for 15 cents, we can ship it over there and sell it for 50 cents. We could get a shoe business going." His brother's friend thought that sounded good. Within 12 months, they had produced over 3 million pairs of shoes, and they shipped them to some of the big cities in India. The guy became a millionaire in 1 year. He never did go back to school. When his friend graduated the following year, he hired him to be his accountant. You see, the difference between those two young guys was in what they could see out that window. Both of them had the same scene in front of them, acres of barefoot people. But whereas one guy saw only poor, barefoot men, women, and children, the other guy saw something else, a way to help the people and a way to step up higher himself. One saw a crisis situation, the other saw an opportunity instead. It was a matter of perspective, vision, and hard work. One saw a human need, and he figured out a way to help meet it. If you are in a time of financial crisis right now, look around you to see where you can meet a human need. Human needs never change. No matter what the environment, humans need certain things. And if you can get yourself involved in meeting human needs, your financial crisis will be a temporary one. Everywhere in the world, people need water, food, clothing, and security. Have you observed that when the economy falls apart, certain types of jobs do not go away? They are the jobs that meet human needs. Jobs in the medical profession and agriculture. Jobs that offer counseling, emotional help, and funeral services. The jobs that depend on luxury goods and services may go away. But even in a bad economy, people have to eat. They may not be able to go to a 5-star restaurant, but they will consider fast food. The inherent seed. God will give you ideas, and He will give you the ability to work. He will let your world be shaken so that the seeds will shake out. He put seeds in your mind and heart. He wants them to grow. This may be your season for planting something new. Your seed is your purpose and your passion. We will talk some more about it in the next chapter, but for now, I want you to understand the connection between seasons and seeds. Inherent in a season of crisis and turmoil and drought is the seed of a season of plenty. After you find your seed, work the soil and plant it. The rainy season will come and water it. Your seed will grow into a fine plant. In every seed, there is a forest. God's purposes are inside you, and all it takes is the right combination of crisis time, shaking, and faith in God's word to make you plant that seed. You were born with the natural talents to do something that the world needs, and God wants you to see the highway of opportunity inside you, even though you may feel as if you are on a dead-end path. What is your seed right now? It may be that idea that won't go away, the thing you keep thinking about doing. If you have been thinking about robbing a bank, however, I would start thinking about something else. You were born with seeds inside you, and you were born with jobs to do. Your future isn't out there in front of you someplace. It is trapped inside of you. Let the crisis time shake it loose. Take it and plant it with faith and work. Give yourself away. Link up with other people. Wait for the season to change. Psalm 1 illustrates how people can grow in the right season. Blessed is the man who does not walk in the counsel of the wicked, or stand in the way of sinners, or sit in the seat of mockers. But his delight is in the law of the Lord, and on his law he meditates day and night. He's like a tree planted by streams of water, which yields its fruit in season, and whose leaf does not wither. Whatever he does prospers. Psalm 1:13. Even for a tree planted by streams of water, there is a season when there is not any fruit. You may be living a righteous life, working hard, but not seeing any results. You may be leafed out. Well, but nobody can eat your leaves. You will think, my faith is still grounded. My roots are still by the water of life. I'm working hard. I'm still alive, but I'm not bearing any fruit. I promise you that there will be a season when you can feed others. Fruitfulness is a seasonal benefit. You just keep growing. Seeds are never in a recession. They never hesitate to grow, given the right conditions. Even in Haiti, which is the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, the seeds grow just fine. If you plant a seed in Haiti, most likely it will grow. The season will change. A fruitful growing season is coming. Your present crisis condition is not permanent. God says so. I will bless them and the places surrounding my hill. I will send down showers in season. There will be showers of blessing. The trees of the field will yield their fruit, and the ground will yield its crops. The people will be secure in their land. They will know that I am the Lord when I break the bars of their yoke and rescue them from the hands of those who enslave them. They will no longer be plundered by the nations, nor will wild animals devour them. They will live in safety, and no one will make them afraid. Ezekiel 34:26-28. Wow, thank you so much for following along with the reading of Overcoming Crisis, a book written by Dr. Myles Munroe. Stay tuned for the next chapter. If you have any comments or questions or suggestions, please leave them below. I am always happy to read them and comment along with you. Also, I pray for your family, just as you pray for mine. Thanks for tuning in today to the Dare to Share channel. As always, God bless and have a wonderful day. Bye.